Hello, Programming 11. We are now going to be taking a look at writing a loop to generate some kind of a pattern of bricks. Right now we're just saying, x0 equals this number, y0 equals this number. We're just manually typing in the coordinates. But as we start to get more bricks, that's going to get annoying. It probably would be doable within, the time we have to work on the project. But, if this was Minecraft, like you don't want to type in like every location, every coordinate of every block in Minecraft, right? There's some kind of loop that generates those things. So we're going to write a loop as well to generate our pattern. And this is the pattern I'm going to show you. After you watch this lesson and start to understand how this works, you're going to make your own pattern. It has to be different than mine. But do work on this pattern and do it with me and program in this pattern, and then you can modify it. And in doing so, I think that'll help you understand the code and help you understand what's going on with your loops. So let's make it happen. So first of all, I just want to show you what the pattern is. I have them sort of drawn out in rows of 7, and there's 4 rows of 7, so altogether that makes for 28 bricks. And then this is a separate program, by the way, so don't worry about making this happen in your Brick Breaker project. This is a whole separate program just to show you the design. So I've got them laid out on multiples of 100. So this brick, it's size 100. And then I draw it at 100, 100. The next brick over is 100 over to the left. So the whole row, first row is on y coordinate 100, and then each one is spaced 100 apart from each other. When we get to the end of the row, we go down to the next row, we draw the next one. And they're all sort of at the same coordinates, but notice the difference. For the second row, y is 200. And then same thing with the next row, y is 300. They're all still stationed at the same x coordinates, but as a new y coordinate. And same with the fourth row, we got y is 400, but the x coordinates are sort of the same pattern: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 700. So that's sort of the difference of where the coordinates are. So how am I going to make that pattern come alive inside of my Brick Breaker project and not have to manually code in every single thing? So I'll show you what I got here. I check out this new pair of variables, temp x and temp y. That's going to help me plan out my pattern. And you're going to need those too. They're sort of like, almost like a scrap paper to sort of write down your calculations before you write their good copy of where they're going to be inside of the books of x and y values. So this is sort of calculation space. So I'm going to scroll down now to our setup function. And our setup function, we have this as our technique right now. Boo, hiss, no good. We want to get rid of this. I'm gonna actually delete it right now. Delete. Pow. And instead, we're gonna write some kind of while loop. So we've already calculated the number of bricks. So let's go change that right now. In case you didn't notice, we have 4 rows of 7 bricks. That makes for 28 bricks. So I'm gonna change that to 28 right now. And notice that will change our books so that they have 28 pages now, and it'll also change this loop, so it will draw 28 bricks, and we'll do the physics for 28 bricks. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new while loop that will sort of create our pattern. It's going to be almost the same thing. Int I equals 0, because we're going to start with brick 0 on page 0. While I is less than n, we're going to do something with bricks here, and then we're going to go I equals I plus 1. We'll go to the next page, flip the page, go to the next brick. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to be doing something with, writing in the books the coordinates of some sort of, thing. We're going to record down the x and y coordinates, but like what are the numbers? What do we do? So that's where temp x and temp y come into. So I'm going to just put up here. Running out of room, I'll say temp x is going to start at a certain number, and temp y is going to start at a certain number. These are going to keep track of sort of where is going to be the next brick, so we can do the math on these variables. So where are we going to start our bricks? This is going to be the first brick. Let's look at our pattern. I have it down here. So the first brick is at, see how it's 100, 100? So that's where we're going to start temp x and temp y. So it's going to start at 100, 100. And then that's actually the correct coordinate for brick 0, right? That's where we want a brick. We want a brick at 100, 100. So when I is 0, we'll set temp x. It's just like the first time through, this will be 0. So we'll just set it straight up to temp x, temp y. And then we're going to go to the next page in our xy coordinates books or arrays. So then we need to have new temp x. If we just did this, all of our bricks, we would make 28 of them, but they'd all be at 100, 100. So the next one is going to be over 100. Like I'll show you. We just have to go to the, from this brick to this brick, what changed? The x changed, right? We went from 100 to 200. And then from this one, 200 to 300. And then we're just adding 100 to our x coordinates. So check this out. Say temp x equals temp x plus 100. So now we've generated, it's not going to be the right pattern, but we're doing a pretty good job. Our first brick will be at 100, 100, because that's where temp x and temp y start at. Then we'll add 100 to temp x, and then we'll flip the page, and then in brick number 1, I guess, the second brick, we'll record 200, 100, and then we'll add 100 to that. So the next one will be at 300, 100. I'll show you what it looks like. If we run it, we will see we have, we have the bricks, but they don't go to the new line, right? They go across, and it goes on and on. It kind of goes off into into the space kind of beyond. But notice they are actually working. Like if I hit, you can see that brick does get hit. Like all these bricks are functional. I don't know if I can hit another one to save my life. But look, I did. Woo. So like these are functional bricks. They all work. But I didn't want it to keep on going down the row. I wanted to go to the next row. So how do you do that? So the way you would do that is by checking an if statement. Hey, if we ever get to the end of the row, we should go to the next row. So we're going to say something like if temp x equals, note the double equal sign for comparing, width, then we're going to, and this doesn't have to be width. You could change this number. For my pattern, I'm going to do that. So now I'm going to set temp y equals temp y plus 100. I'm going to go down to the next row. Still doesn't quite work. Watch what happens. I go down to the next row, but I start at that point. So that's no good. I want to go back to the beginning. What's the coordinate of the beginning? Well, it's back to 100 again. So I'll set temp x to 100. So these temp x and y variables are for planning out our coordinates, and then once we've calculated them, we put them into the books of coordinates to record where that will be. See if that works. I'll run that. Yeah, I got the bricks, and check it out. They actually all work. If I could hit one, you can see that they're all colliding and functioning the way we expect them to. Look at that. Look at that. So nice. So that's how I have created a while loop that will plan out all my bricks. You might say, Mr. Pelche, I could have just typed in all those coordinates. It wouldn't have taken me any time whatsoever. That's just all crazy. But you know what? That's true. And that would work for this project. You're not wrong. But that has limitations. And we want to learn, not just because we want to make Breakout, but eventually you want to make something like Minecraft, and you couldn't type in all the coordinates, right, for the Minecraft blocks. That's not feasible. That's not something that any human should be tasked to do. You want to only generate those with some kind of automated loop. So this is pretty complicated stuff. I wouldn't blame you at all if you had questions. I actually would be surprised if you don't have questions. So here's something that I'd like you to do to, maybe you don't know what question to ask right now. So what I'd like you to do is make a couple of changes. I'd like you to modify this code here so that you have a different kind of pattern. So what I'd like you to do, and I'll write this up on Teams, I'd like you, that's the actual thing, I'd like you to change this pattern. So one thing I'd like you to make it so there's not 7. I don't want 7 bricks on a row. You should change it up. You might have to make your screen wider, which is totally fine. You can do that. But make it so that there's not 7, make 10 or 15 or some other number. Probably not less than 7, try to go bigger. I think would be for a more fun game. Also, I'd like you to add some gaps on the side here, like the top and the side. What's really fun about Brick Breaker, or one of the fun things about Brick Breaker, is when you can sneak the ball up the side. You can go whoop, get the ball right up in here and bouncing along the top. That's really rewarding, and it looks nice. Like when we're not breaking bricks just yet, But when you can get the ball up there, breaking the bricks, it's pretty fun. So give it some sort of new gap on the top and the bottom to let us sneak the ball up there. So that's going to be some changes. And also, so then change the number of bricks that are in a row. So that's going to be some changes that will force you to modify this code in some way. How do you put the gaps on the side and the top? How do you have more bricks in a row? You might even want to change the size of the bricks, although I'm not going to make that required. But if you want to, you can do that as well. That's not actually too hard to do, but might take some doing. So that's one thing to do. And then the second thing I'd like you to think about is over here on the game function. I'm in game now. For this loop, I'd like you to color these circles. I'd like you to make it so that each row is a different color. So the top row is one color, and then the next row down is a different color, and the third one down is yet another color, so that you have a variety of colors in your rows of bricks. So I'd like you to see if you can make that happen. So that's how you plan bricks out. Those are some tasks for you to try out. Good luck with that, everybody, and we'll see you soon.